A potential mass shooter was stopped by a good guy with a gun who held this man at gunpoint until the police arrived and arrested him. Story is a guy showed up to a Walmart with body armor, a rifle, and over 100 rounds of ammunition. And now I'm seeing this story kind of go all over the place. I see a lot of conservatives pushing it out saying, see, a good guy with a gun stopped this guy. However, I'm not entirely convinced this was going to be a mass shooter. Actually, I think after looking over the story, I don't believe that to be the case. And what I actually see here is an erosion of Second Amendment rights, period. This, after reviewing the evidence and looking over the stories, I think this is actually really, really bad news for conservatives and for gun advocates. Right now, you have the Daily Wire and many other conservative outlets pointing out that a good guy with a gun, a handgun, stopped a guy with a rifle who was arrested, like it was a good thing. However, it's my understanding that in Missouri, walking around with a rifle and ammo is not against the law. And therein lies the problem. What laws did this man break? Why was he arrested? What was intent? We really don't know. Now, I certainly think we have a problem here in this country if you literally can't stop a mass shooter if he's doing everything in the law up until the point where he lifts his gun up and starts shooting people. So, look, I lean more left. But I highlight this because it's kind of interesting to me to see so many conservatives praising this, where at the same time, this is likely to actually harm gun rights. Let's read the story. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. But of course, the best thing you can do, share this video. Look, I guarantee you this video will be demonetized and deranked because I'm talking about guns and gun rights. That's a fact. YouTube has straight up demonetized gun channels. At one instance, Google Shopping banned the word gun, so you couldn't even search for anime called Gundam. Just the word, the three letters, they don't like it. So if you do, please share. But let's read the story. Ryan Saavedra writes, an off-duty firefighter who had a firearm with him stopped a potential attack from taking place at a Walmart in Missouri after a 20-year-old man showed up to the store with a rifle, body armor, and over 100 rounds of ammunition. His intent was not to cause peace or comfort to anybody that was in the business. Lieutenant Mike Lucas with the Springfield Police Department said, in fact, he's lucky to be alive still, to be honest. And that's true. He is. Although it's not yet clear what the man's intent was, Lucas said, we definitely have some crimes. I'd be interested to know what those crimes are. Again, my understanding is he didn't do anything illegal. Walking around with a rifle in public is legal. Maybe trespassing if Walmart says no guns allowed. I don't know. Lucas said there may have been a Facebook Live posted by the suspect and that law enforcement officials are conducting an investigation and looking through the suspect's social media. KOLR news anchor tweeted, 20-year-old man with a rifle, handgun, and body armor arrested at Walmart on Republic. SFD police say he had 100-plus rounds of ammunition. Off-duty firefighter with concealed carry held him at gunpoint until officers arrived about 3 minutes later. The Springfield Police Department released this statement. At approximately 4:10 p.m., Springfield police officers were dispatched to 3150 West Republic Road to a Walmart neighborhood market. An armed white male in his 20s was detained by an armed off-duty fireman until officers arrived on scene and took the suspect into custody. No injuries were reported and no shots were fired. At this time, the investigation is ongoing, and we are working to determine his motives. The incident comes after, I'm going to avoid talking about the other incidents, but let's skip that. The tragedy has ignited the latest round of calls for gun control from the media and the Democrat Party, demanding an assault weapons ban and more background checks. An independent study commissioned by Justice Department's National Institute of Justice found that the 1994 Clinton assault weapons ban did not reduce violence, and a recent report from CNN noted that changes to background check regulations would not have stopped the tragedy. I have more news. According to CNN, the man was pushing a cart and recording himself walking through the store with a cell phone when the manager pulled the fire alarm to notify customers to escape. And that's when they go into the quote, his intent was not to comfort anybody. We can see this photo. It's kind of hard to make out for those watching, but it's the man outside with body armor and the rifle with his hands up. So I popped over to Wikipedia. Let me zoom in here. And this is gun laws in Missouri. And we can see here, permit required for concealed carry, no for long guns, no for handguns. Owner's license required, no and no. Firearm registration, state permit, no, 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 no. Permit required for open carry, no, no. Well, there you go. Assault weapons law, no, no. Magazine capacity restriction, no, no. NFA weapons restricted, no. Peaceable journey law, I'm not sure what that is, so I could be missing some context here. Not a gun person. The point is, it sounds like He's allowed to have these magazines. He's allowed to have this weapon. It sounds like he was allowed to do all of this. What I think this is actually is a Second Amendment audit. In March, we saw this video, March 31st, 2019, 1.2 million views on YouTube. This is a video where a man, I guess it's News Now OKC with about 20,000 subs. This man went to Edmond, Oklahoma, and he was carrying what he said was a pistol. And I believe he is absolutely correct. This right here on the left is what he describes as a pistol, and this on the right is the officer's weapon, which is a rifle. And it's actually, the guy is correct. So here's what happens in this story. This man shows up with a camera filming, walking around a park where people are playing with this weapon. And people called the police because my understanding is the police say in this, and they could be wrong, I don't know, a rifle, you're not allowed to open carry a rifle in this place. However, he then states because there's no, he mentions the stock and the foregrip and how this on the left is designed to be held with one hand, legally classifying it as a pistol with a shortened barrel. He's right. He is within the confines of the law and doing everything legally. The police come up and question him, and here's the important thing about the potential crime in the first story. The police say there may be some crimes here, and that his intent was not to, calm people or whatever the issue is. In this video, one of the first cops walks up and says, "Why are you doing this?" And he says it's a Second Amendment audit, to which the cop responds, "I appreciate you causing a panic." Now we've got a problem. We've got a couple problems. If you were an advocate for the Second Amendment, then I imagine you would be like, hey, this guy did everything right. Peacefully walking around, carrying his weapon within the confines of the law, doing everything legally, and the police come up to him, they have their weapons drawn, they're trained on him, they surround him, they start asking him questions, he puts his hands up, they take the weapon from him, they check it, they give it back, say, why would you do this? Should that have happened? Could you imagine if the First Amendment was treated this way? A guy sitting on a street corner, talking, and then all of a sudden a bunch of cops come up and surround him and say, what are you talking about and why? And they say, I'm doing a First Amendment audit, right? So we actually do have First Amendment audits too. And I think all of these situations, first of all, the First Amendment audits are a lot of people like going up to cops and security guards and like getting as close as possible and kind of like pushing it. Let me ask you this, before I actually go on talking about this. Do you think this guy is right to do this? Here's the difference between how I see the First Amendment audit and the Second Amendment audits. In a lot of these First Amendment audit videos, they walk up to cops while the cops are doing something dangerous and the cops are agitated, like, please back up. With the Second Amendment audit, this guy was just walking through a park, and he's legally allowed to. The Constitution says he can, and he was following all of the laws that were written. Why should the cops stop him when he broke no laws? Now, you could argue probable cause, because from a distance, that does not look like a pistol. And if you can't carry a rifle, expect to be stopped. And so the guy on camera says, we're just hoping to educate people. To which the cops respond, why don't you call us? Let us know you're going to be, carrying around a pistol that looks like a rifle. And when people call, you can explain it to them. And he says, maybe we'll do that in the future. But I think part of this is about presenting the image. And it's I don't want to say it's about causing panic or causing a scene, but it kind of, it's in that vein. So here's what I think about this story right here with this guy. We don't know if this guy was a mass shooter. We don't. And I think there absolutely is kind of a problem if that person with 100 plus rounds of ammo and a rifle and body armor can legally walk around and do whatever he wants, and we only can stop him he's legally allowed to do that up until he lifts the weapon and starts shooting people. It's kind of like, man, we're dancing close to the razor's edge on this one. But with the Second Amendment, with gun rights, what's the solution? You can't tell people they're not allowed to wear legal body armor with a legal weapon in a legal open carry state with legal ammo. So I will stress to all the conservatives that are dancing around saying, aha, a good guy with a gun stopped a potential mass shooter. It's like, actually, a guy who was panicked over the recent news pointed a gun at a guy who didn't break any laws. We have a problem. We have a serious problem. I don't know what the answer is. I can't. But I'm confused as to why I'm reading articles, and it's not just this. But I'm confused as to why I'm reading articles where, in this circumstance, gun rights proponents are going like, wow, good for them, they stopped him. Well, this is an erosion of gun rights. Maybe you guys agree. Don't ask me. I'm, again, not a gun person. Never been. Maybe we shouldn't allow people to carry around, AR-15s in public through Walmart. The thing about the crime that he mentions, And what I was going to mention in the other video where this guy does it is that causing panic could be the problem, right? The idea the police could say disorderly conduct. You know, if you want to carry this around, it is your right, but you still have to like give people a heads up. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you legally do, but the cops can charge you for disorderly or some kind of other, you know, I don't know. The bigger question is, what do we do about this? And do we come to a point then where we say we need a long gun, you know, restrictions on long guns? My understanding actually in places like Chicago is that long guns are less restricted because of hunting laws and things like this. And I also will stress too, I'll try and keep this one short. Look, a lot of people don't know anything about guns, and that was the point of the Second Amendment audit. In this story, here's what we know about the Walmart thing. A guy was wearing armor, he had a gun, he had 100 rounds, he was filming himself pushing a shopping cart around, and then he left the store and then got stopped. So it doesn't seem like he was intending to do anything. But he was still arrested, and I have to wonder why. So one of the big problems in the gun debate is that many people on the left don't understand anything about guns, which is why the Second Amendment auditors did this, why he had a pistol, which looks like a rifle, and then everyone called the police, because they don't know. But I mean, I pulled up the screenshot on purpose because we have a problem. If this is legally a pistol and this is legally a rifle, what's the difference in the long run? And that's a big problem that we're having with all of these laws. The assault weapons ban will ban handguns. Like literally, at the federal level, I went through this in the March for Our Life. It would ban like a semi-automatic pistol. And when you ask regular people if that should be completely illegal, and they say no, of course not. They're concerned about AR-15s, and you know, they don't seem to understand that the main issue with an AR-15 is not the fact that it's an AR-15. It's just a semi-auto rifle, and there are a bunch of other kinds that wouldn't fall under the assault weapons ban that would still be. It's just, you know what, man? You know what bugs me about this is I'm absolutely open to talking about reasonable gun control. Maybe it's background checks. Maybe it's like, you know, we ban on certain things. Maybe there's something we can do. I'm saying maybe because I honestly don't know. The conversation needs to be had. The problem is the left is so damn sure we need to do it, and they haven't even read the bill. They don't even know what an assault weapon is. They interchangeably use rifle and weapon. They're not the same thing. An assault rifle is illegal. They've never been legal in the first place. I read about this. So I'm sitting here trying to be like, okay, this is a problem. These two weapons right here are not legally the same thing. This is a pistol. This is a rifle. You understand why that's going to cause a panic. Should that matter? I honestly don't know, but I think panic is bad. And if people are freaking out, what do we do about it? We're not going to curtail someone's rights because people are panicking. Imagine what would happen if someone went outside and yelled a swear word and people started panicking and calling the police. We can't tell someone you can't speak because people are panicking. So in this story, which is, I'm like just baffled by this. Why is anybody celebrating a guy who broke no laws being arrested and held at gunpoint? Could you imagine if you were speaking and someone came up to you and detained you and the police came and arrested you to figure out what you were saying and why? The problem I see is that people are on edge. There are mass shooters. I don't know what the solution is. It's very different from just speech. But they're both in the Constitution. They're both guaranteed rights. So right now, I cannot say, based on where we are as a country, this was a good thing. Obviously, if he was a mass shooter, it absolutely was. But what if it's a guy exercising his constitutional right, filming himself and leaving a store, and someone illegally detains him at gunpoint? I don't know, man. Isn't this is just so nuts? But I will say this. I'm not really super frustrated about any of these conversations or how we're supposed to move forward and what the solution is going to be. Because this is what we do. This is what society does. We develop new civics. We develop new laws and new rules and new customs, and things change. Maybe this will result in people being more armed. I don't think so. I think people are moving away from weapons, away from armor. You know, I saw this video, and it got me thinking about what would have happened a couple hundred years ago if somebody was walking around with pistols or swords or something. Nobody would say anything. If a guy was walking around with a weapon, wearing like thick protective clothing, not necessarily armor, but maybe like leathers or something, a lot of people would be like, yep, out in the middle of the woods, wild animals, got himself a weapon, makes sense, gotta protect yourself, right? Today, people have given up so much authority or expectation of authority to police that they're shocked when there's a guy walking around with a rifle. So I ask this. I have a few questions that I can add to this. I don't quite understand why it is the left hate cops, say things like all cops are bastards, but then think cops should be the only people with weapons. I don't understand why it's the left that claims that, police brutality is a serious, egregious problem. I think it's a problem, but they act like all cops are bastards, and I'm not saying all liberals. I'm saying it tends to be the left saying cops are bad, and it also tends to be the left saying only the cops should have guns. I get it. You're not going to shoot a cop. Like, if a cop is breaking the law and corrupt, well, you're kind of screwed, aren't you? But this is one point brought up by a ton of people. How could we be at a point where you have the left shrieking orange man bad, fascists are taking over, the police and government are fascists? I know, let's give them all of our guns. That's really weird, isn't it? Well, I will add one more thing. We are seeing the rise of left-wing gun groups, like the Socialist Rifle Association or the John Brown Gun Club, Redneck Revolt. So don't be surprised. The left is starting to embrace guns. So that's why I say maybe people will actually start arming themselves more. Maybe that's not a good thing. I honestly have no idea. But take a look at this. For those listening on the podcast, it's a cop holding up two weapons that look very similar to the untrained eye, but one is legally a pistol and one is legally a rifle. And how do you deal with that? What's the appropriate solution? Did the police have probable cause? Should the police have probable cause to stop someone exercising their constitutional right and breaking no laws? I honestly just don't know. This is too damn complicated for me to be the moral arbiter of. But I can point out principle and the current system in place. I would state, based on the current rules, the police should not have stopped this man. In fact, I should say the police should have went up to him and asked him a few questions and then been on their merry way. But you know what? I don't know. It's tough, right? Maybe the police did the right thing, asked him a couple questions, checked the weapon, gave it back to him, and went on their merry way. Maybe that's the right thing to do. But I can't imagine people would be accepting of that if the cops did that every time someone talked in public. And they said, we're checking your free speech to make sure it's in line because certain things aren't. I'll put it this way. The First Amendment guarantees the right of the press, the speech, religion. Imagine if there was a Muslim praying and the cops came up, surrounded them, not at gunpoint, because I'm trying to, make it analogy work. And they said, what religion is this? You have freedom of religion, but we've restricted some. Right? So that's the point. The Second Amendment doesn't specify exactly what weapons you can or can't have, but we have regulated weapons. We have regulated speech to a certain point as well. So, I don't know. Look, if you were outside and you were yelling death threats at people, then the cops are going to come and stop you. You know what I mean? So, I don't know what to say. Final thought, because I don't want to rant on this forever. I saw this story, good guy with gun stops potential attack. I think the Daily Wire should have done a little digging before they wrote this. Because when I saw this story, I looked it up, and it turns out the guy was pushing a shopping cart, leaving the store, and he got stopped. He didn't do anything. In which case, the story should be a guy legally carrying was stopped illegally and arrested illegally, right? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Hey, it's a tough problem. Stick around. Next segment will be coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you there.